If the John Lewis Act were to pass, and again, I know it does not look like it will at this point, how meaningful a change, how meaningful a guardrail would that present in terms of ensuring that American elections going forward would not be subject to effective claims of, of rigging or dual certification, all this kind of problems that we have?
We're going to have disputes of that sort, regardless of what is done. It fits a master plan without sounding too conspiratorial, but I guess there's no other way to describe it. It fits in with a master plan of making it easier for national Republicans to have an impact on future presidential races. And we saw this last time. It was very close. And the electoral votes that turned up in Georgia turned out to be decisive, and that was good. Georgia's current situation is the result of past reforms that enable more Black voters to get to the polls. But at the same time, they're already making some changes, or they're debating in Georgia about further changes to the law that will enable the legislature to decide electoral votes if there is a dispute in the count. The sort of thing that President Trump's people were trying to push in this past election will actually be easier to accomplish.
So then all that matters is which party is in charge of the legislature, really.
Well, yeah, somebody, maybe it was Stalin, said that it's not who casts the vote, but who counts them. You ever heard that before?
Oh, sure, of course. You don't want elections to go the route of impeachment, right? Impeachment has become completely broken. It's purely a political tool because it doesn't matter what the charges are. It only matters whether it's a Democrat or Republican that the charges are being levied against, and whether they control or not the House and the Senate. And what you're saying is that in state legislatures, we increasingly see some trends towards that type of behavior for elections.
I can go back to 1876, to the end of Reconstruction, when there was a disputed national election where the vote did come to Washington, was heading toward the House of Representatives, which is what the Constitution says they get to decide in such cases. And each state gets one vote, regardless of the proportion of votes that were cast for each party. And that didn't get that far because they had that grand compromise, which essentially ended Reconstruction, the Hayes-Tilden Compromise. The North agreed to pull Union troops out of the South. Yep. And believe me, as an African-American with Alabama roots, that was the end of my family's ability to vote, essentially, until I was in high school.
A broken election basically led to Jim Crow, basically prevented Blacks in the South from experiencing liberty for generations.
That's exactly right. And since we're not speaking in a public school in Virginia and a number of other states that are banning critical race theory, we can talk freely about this. Is one bold example of how history and the slavery period and the laws that came out of that period, including the Electoral College. This is the legacy of those days. And that's part of the big argument now. Are we going to get rid of these last vestiges of discrimination from the Jim Crow era?